Today's conversation is with Rob Lancit, serial entrepreneur who for more than 25 years has dedicated his career to changing people's life through franchise ownership. As a franchisor, franchisee, area developer, executive, and consultant, Rob has worn every hat in franchising and will share with us today some key insights on how to do it right. Hope you enjoy the program. Rob Lancit, it's been a while since we first ran into each other way back when.
It's been a minute. It certainly has. I'm afraid to even guess the amount of years that we've known each other.
Oh, at least I know 25 for sure, because I remember the time we went sailing out in the harbor in New Zealand, in Auckland.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
I remember that well.
One of the racing boats.
That was the trip. We also climbed the Sydney Harbor Bridge.
Yes, it was. And I'm trying to find those photos, because back then we used cameras, not so much digital. Interesting.
The old disposable ones.
I know. So Rob, and since it's been a long time, and boy, have you made so many transitions in franchising, and always been in franchising. However, you've been a franchisor, you've been a franchisee, you've been an area developer, you've been a supplier, so pretty much, you name it, you've done it. So I want to ask you first, what do you think it takes, 2 or 3 qualities that you need to be successful in franchising?
That's a really good question. I think the top 3 things that one needs as must-haves is one, the ability to work hard, right? You got to bust your butt. You can't assume that you're going to, acquire a franchise and people are going to be lined up around the block to want to do business with you. You've got to work the business. You've got to be committed to the business. Your commitment to the business has got to be, 100%. And probably the most important thing in franchising is you have to be able to follow a system, right? You cannot acquire a franchise and look to make changes to the franchise. You wouldn't buy a McDonald's franchise and start selling hot dogs out of the drive-through window, right? I mean, you sell the items on the menu, you follow the system. Generally speaking now, if you bring those 3 things to the table, there's really no reason why you wouldn't succeed in business. If you've got the ability to work hard, your commitment to the business, and your ability to follow a system.
Do you follow the system? I hear that over and over at every single one of my podcasts. It's amazing. And it's true. That's what franchising is actually, isn't it? A set of systems.
Well, why reinvent the wheel, right? It's done for you. The whole point of somebody acquiring a franchise is, I jokingly tell people, when they say, well, what am I getting when I buy a franchise? You're getting our mistakes. You're buying our mistakes. We've paid the dumb tax already. In franchising, so you don't have to. Do you think franchising is as popular today as it was when we first looked back at, the 90s? And I've certainly seen a transition from where it was to where it is today. And I to be honest, I think it's probably more popular today than back then. I think we're seeing more and more of the younger generation looking at getting into franchising. There's a lot more young emerging brands coming out onto the market today. I don't think franchising is going anywhere.
No, and the one thing that I saw the trend of going back to responsible franchising, because a lot of things, franchising became so popular that anybody that had an idea or a thought became a franchise, and it's not like that either.
Yeah, look, there are certainly a lot of franchise systems that are just not good. Okay, and it's not only the opportunity. Sometimes it's the people too that are not good. Not everybody's a good person, right? So that's first and foremost. Secondly, the term responsible franchising irks me like there's no tomorrow. I hate the term, because we come from a generation where, you shake somebody's hand, you have a deal, you do what you say you're going to do, you keep your word, you're chock full of integrity. That's how deals used to get done. Mm-hmm. Now, there are certainly folks that don't adhere to, those qualities of being, full of integrity and having somebody else's best interest at heart. But, I don't know why we need to label something that is innate in most of us, and that's simply doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly annoys me.
And it is because, back when, and I still, franchising in the 90s, I still have some relationships that have lifelong friendships.
Yeah.
Only because I brought them into the system as an international master licensee, but you hold their hands throughout their process. One of the things we used to use, an old friend, Dennis Fuller, used to bring up the word, and I learned that from him. He says, we don't sell franchises, we award franchises.
100%. We're in the people business, right? That's what franchising is all about, building relationships. And we've got to build meaningful, trusting relationships in order to be able to award, a franchise. And I find that some of the companies, I'm not going to call it any of them, but some of the companies today that really harp on and focus on responsible franchising, some of them are the ones that you probably want to stay really far away from. When you've got to wear a sign saying that I franchise responsibly, and shout it from the mountaintops, something's wrong. In my opinion, anyways. And again, I'm not saying every franchise concept out there is a bad concept that talks about responsible franchising, but I mean, I think we just come from a school of, you do what you say you're going to do, and you do the right thing.
And in a way, you are responsible franchising because you, as you mentioned with Stratus, your current function is to expand internationally. And how do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, I mean, we've still got some white space here in the United States that we're going to look to hopefully, finish off in the next little bit. Stratus is a little bit of a unique opportunity because we're really at the point of our growth. We've got 75 master franchises and over 4,000 unit franchisees scattered throughout North America. We've been fortunate enough over the past 2 years to be ranked as the #1 fastest growing franchise by Entrepreneur. I know I'm not here to plug, Stratus, but I'm just giving you some context around that.
And right? Actually, that was my next question: is what does Stratus do?
I'll get into that in just a sec. But just to touch on, our growth, we've got a lot of, secondary and tertiary markets that we have to break into. And that's a little bit, a little challenging sometimes when you are a mature franchise system breaking into those markets. So we're looking at getting a little creative and, in marketing in those particular markets. Now, we're looking at going internationally in 2025. We're going to obviously start in the English-speaking countries. I'm talking to the international guru, right now. I've been in international franchising. In fact, that's how we met initially. There's many countries that we can look to go into, but it's easier for us to tackle the English-speaking countries, initially. And then as we continue to grow, we'll probably start to look at some of the non-English-speaking countries, but we'll probably tackle, New Zealand, Australia, UK, initially.
And that's a smart strategy, especially when you're just starting to touch the international waters. And going back to my original one, Stratus. Tell me what you do.
Well, Stratus is the 4th largest commercial cleaning franchise. We specialize in daily, weekly janitorial services as well as one-off cleaning services. Our model is a little unique, a little different in that we strictly offer, from a corporate standpoint, we strictly offer master franchise opportunities, right? And that could be from a specific geographic region within a state. It could be an entire state. In some cases, it might be a country. But the role of the master franchise is to go out and sell single unit franchises throughout their territory. And at the same time, they'll go out and they'll obtain commercial cleaning contracts from the various different companies in and around their territory. Now, as they get the commercial cleaning contract, they simply award that to their unit franchisees. And it's their unit franchisees that go out and execute on the cleaning side of things. So although technically they're in the commercial cleaning space, they're not cleaning toilets for a living. That's not their business model. Their business model is sales, marketing, and operational support, right? That's their business model. Their unit franchisees are the ones that are in the commercial cleaning business. They're in the cleaning business. So they're building a cleaning empire It's really an executive style business model. It's a Monday to Friday type gig, generally no evenings, no weekends. You're managing a team. We look for folks that are generally C-suite, former executives that can come in and run a business and have experience in not only running a team of people, but looking at their P&Ls and finances. We've got 9 different revenue streams in our business model. It's quite unique. One that I've never experienced this in all my years of franchising, and I love this business model. And you know what? You talked about the gentleman that you put in business that you're still in contact with. We just had our annual conference a few months ago, right? And I had about 12 people over the last year that I put in business, and I took a picture with everybody. That single picture was the most rewarding picture that I could have had. I changed the lives, and that's what we do on a daily basis, right? We change people's lives. We help them get into business for themselves and make a better than average living for them and their family. And they don't have to worry about the rat race in corporate America. They get to do it on their own terms now. They have to follow a system, obviously, but making a difference in somebody's life like that, there's no bigger reward.
It's funny that it's how parallel our businesses are, because at Action Coach, the same thing. When someone says to me, I'm talking to a master licensee or a master licensee prospect or candidate, and they say, I want nothing to do with coaching. I just want to build a network. And that's the whole point. Is their job is not to go and coach businesses. Their job is to build franchisees through a franchisee network for them to have their coaches and coach the businesses. So it's kind of interesting, the parallels.
Yeah, back in the day, I did. I don't know if you remember Robert Falcone from Presidet.
Absolutely, I remember Robert.
Right.
Yes.
I worked with them, and one of the things that he was really adamant about is we don't want any mechanics, purchasing our franchise. We don't want somebody that's going to have their hood underneath their head underneath the hood of a car. We want somebody that's going to work on the business. And it's the same premise here. We don't want somebody that's going to go and clean. You don't want somebody that's going to go and coach.
And something. How do you feel the white collar service franchise concepts compare to food service, pizza, QSRs? What difference do you see in the advantages or so?
You're really asking the wrong person here, and I'll tell you why. I have never been a fan of food. I've never worked with food concepts. I don't, look, I love eating food. I love frequenting, all different franchises and independent, restaurant establishments. I just find that it's a really difficult business. My mother was in that industry. I saw how difficult it was. You might not have this problem today, but back, 10 years ago, you had a line item on your P&L for theft. You put a certain percentage in there, right off the bat, people are going to steal from you. I have to be able to sleep at night, right? And look, when people think franchising, the first thing they think of is food, whether it be McDonald's, KFC, Wendy's, Burger King, doesn't matter. They think food, right? And there's this whole world outside of food when it comes to franchising. There's dozens of industries that people would never have thought of, never even considered, but they think franchising, they think food. So I'm not, I have nothing against eating it. I just would never personally put somebody in a food concept. I think service-based businesses, retail-type businesses are a safer bet, in my opinion.
Well, and I think seeing your mother struggle through the business kind of shied you away from it as well, no? But
well, that and it's got a high failure rate, compared to some other industries. And when somebody is looking at getting into a business, and look, you acquire, again, I don't want to mention any concepts by name, but if you buy a sub franchise, a sub sandwich franchise, and if somebody doesn't show up for their shift, to make the sandwiches, well, guess who's going to make the sandwiches at midnight? What else are you going to do?
And you are a fan of the services concept, uh, being that you also you built your own you were a franchisor at one time with a wedding
I was a
company.
franchisor. Yeah, yeah. We had a wedding consulting and event planning franchise that we grew. Another service-based business, right? Servicing, the wedding consulting, the wedding industry and events, special events. I you don't need in most cases, you don't need a specific skill set, and unless you're looking at a particular trade where you might need a ticket or a degree of some sort. Most people, can fit into a mold on the service side of things. Commercial cleaning is a perfect example. I mean, what we do isn't rocket science, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of moving parts to our business. So we need somebody that's got the right business acumen to run our particular business, right?
That's a good point. And let me ask you this: going back to Stratus, I'm considering your franchise. What are the questions that I need to ask of the franchisor? You think that to get involved and to be attracted to the franchise?
Another good question. All too often, one of the first questions that I get asked is, how much money can I make? And although that's a great question to ask, it's not the right question to ask right out of the starting gate. The right questions to ask are, explain to me the business model. I want to learn the business. What are you going to provide me in terms of why? I answer the question, why would I buy a franchise from you? What separates you from some of your competitors? Those are the types of questions that I want somebody to ask me. I want somebody to take a look at my competitors when they're talking to me. I want to be able to have an intelligent conversation with them and show them why we're superior to others. But when they come at you, well, how much can I make? I mean, that's, we'll get there. We'll certainly get there. But a lot of times, it's important for me to follow a system. I have a system that I put people through, just like and if they don't follow my system and how I want to collect information and how I want to provide them with information, well, that's a good indicator that they likely won't follow the system once they're a franchise of ours, right? So just like they're going to do their due diligence on our opportunity, I refer to it much more as a mutual investigation process, right? Where they get to do their due diligence on us, and I'll provide them. My role is to act as a facilitator of information. I'm going to provide them with enough information where they can make a well-informed decision as to whether this is the right fit for them or not. While doing that, while going through that process, I'm going to see how they react to certain questions. I'm going to see whether they keep their word and sending in whatever information that is required from them, whether they're on time for our calls. So I'm going to determine whether they're the right fit for us as well.
Well, it's funny that you say that because and again, I'm going to misuse the word again, but that is responsible franchising, is when you actually evaluate each other. We do that. We actually use, ironically enough, we use a process, and we start off with a 28-point tick box, like a questionnaire. It's a self-evaluation of tell us your why, and to try to figure out what their needs are and what they're looking for, because there's nothing sadder than bringing someone to a system and have them fail right off the bat.
Oh, for sure. We have to sleep at night, right? So I can't tell you how many people I have to turn away, and that's and a franchisor, a good franchisor. I'm not saying a responsible franchisor. I'm saying a good franchisor is going to turn down when somebody's sitting across the table from you, and you know in your heart that they're not going to be a good franchisee, and they're pushing a check over the table for 50 grand or 75 grand, franchise fee, and the franchisor, you have to say, you know what? No. Thanks for your interest. We greatly appreciate your interest, but we don't think you're the right fit for us. Because if you do take that money, right, rest assured that within 2 years, they're going to be problematic. You always got to listen to your gut. And if problems arise in 2 or 3 years from now, well, that 50 grand that you got in franchise fees, it's going to cost you 3 times that in legal fees, to deal with the situation at hand.
Yeah, and the ones that you end up awarding you literally do change their lives.
You know, we validate really well at Stratus, and you know, I can't wait to get to the point where I can begin the validation calls with our current masters, because they make my job really easy. We validate super well, and something also that's very unique to Stratus is the corporate culture, the camaraderie amongst all of the masters. We have some masters that, believe it or not, are doing over $14 million a year. Right, $14 million a year, and those owners, that master, will sit down and give a brand new newcomer into the system the time of day. Right, they'll sit with them, and you can call them up at any time, and that goes for any of our masters. You can call them up at any time of the day and bend their ear, and they will give you the support and guidance that you need. I have never seen that in any other franchise system that I've been involved with. Everybody keeps their cards close to their chest and doesn't, you know, share best practices and whatnot, what's working, or they'll share just enough to, you know, satisfy, you know, a question, but they don't go any further. They don't give them the secret sauce. Our masters do.
And you know something, it's the same thing. I always found that in my past lives, where everyone is so overprotective of what they're doing, or the little edge they may have on the business, and yet when I came in here, the number one surprise, a pleasant surprise that I had, was the community and how they help each other. A coach gets down, or one of the franchisees gets ill, or you know, gets diagnosed with cancer or something, and then there's someone in there to fill in the gaps and make sure that the client doesn't lose out because somebody's disabled for a while or out of touch for a while. That
sounds like they've got each other's back.
Truly amazing. Truly amazing. Community, we call it building community, and it is a community of people that kind of care for each other, not only about their concept, but also about their fellow master licensees and franchisees.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about building legacy here. You know, legacy is a big, I don't want to call it a keyword because it's not really a keyword, but it's big amongst all of our masters. We have, you know, many masters that have, they run as a family-run business. Some are looking to build this and you know, transfer it generationally, you know, to their children, or even if they don't look to transfer it generationally to their children, they're still looking to build and leave a legacy behind, you know, and that's that amongst all of our masters, that is the one single word that resonates with everybody's legacy.
Well, I'm happy that I tell you, I'm very surprised. I'm very happy that you're in the position you are today, because I always, you know, admired our friendship and actually cherish our relationship that we've had over the years. And hopefully, when you decide to go down to Australia with Stratus, we can actually catch a couple of days and go sailing again.
And recreate, you know, our trip from a few years ago. Let's just call it
Just
a few years ago.
Yeah, my hair was still dark, you know, so it's the grays, and you're showing a little gray yourself.
Yes,
Well, I have one more question for you, since you've been are an expat relocating down to South Florida area. Panthers fan yet?
No.
Never. Oh my God.
It's Montreal Canadiens. You can take the guy out of Montreal, but you can't take the Montreal out of the guy.
Okay, my friend. Thank you for taking the time this morning. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Anytime.
I look forward to catching up at one of these. You're coming to IFA hopefully in February. So, okay, we'll see you then.
Absolutely.
We'll see you then.
Look forward to it.
Be well.
All right.
Thank you, Rob. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thanks for joining us today, and hope you have gained some valuable insights into the world of franchising. My name is William Lesante, and I would like to invite you to the next episode of the Franchise Coach Podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share with your network. Also, click the link below to learn more about franchising with Action Coach. Thank you.